G'day world, Chris Hogan coming to you from the Young Professionals Gold Coast City Leaders Forum here at the Star Gold Coast, and I have the keynote speaker Sean Braybrook with me here today. Sean, how are we going, mate? What was today all about, and what did you hope people got out of it?
I think today was about exploring the big ideas. I think what we need to do as a city is understand the key obstacles facing us in terms of growth and looking at how we can deliver a roadmap, particularly for the business community, so that we make the right decisions going forward.
So there was a lot of discussion around infrastructure that's coming, and not a lot of discussion about supporting small businesses now. What's your take on that?
I must admit, I would have liked to have heard a bit more about what we can do for the SME sector. Today's scrappy small business is tomorrow's basically superstar. What we need to focus on at the moment, part of the conversation is getting infrastructure right. That includes physical, that includes cultural, that includes personnel. But we also need to look at what we can do, particularly in terms of a local government perspective, to support small businesses so they can grow, whether that's cutting red tape, some of which we're doing very, very well, lobbying government for exemptions, whether that's looking at what we can do as a region or getting rid of payroll tax, let's say for the Gold Coast as a bit of a trial. Anything along those lines that where we can provide a point of differentiation as a city is absolutely critical, and that's where I want to see today's conversation go. What ideas were sparked? What can we do as a city to be better, to understand how we can compete in terms of not just the Gold Coast being a good city now, but well into the future and being known as Australia's #1 location for business, innovation and livability. And that's what I hope comes from today.
Okay, so I think we're doing well on the livability front already, and so transport infrastructure is definitely high on the agenda. You can see that through all of the reports coming through from Urbis. Love your work, Urbis. So what are we looking forward to in terms of infrastructure that they've highlighted today?
The digital piece is absolutely critical. So as you and I just touched on before we went to camera, so the Sunshine Coast has just basically signed off on a digital cable, which will be one of the only, basically, Sydney and the Sunshine Coast will be the only two places in Australia that have access to the underwater cable that connects to the main infrastructure from the United States, which means they're going to have high-speed internet and the best bandwidth in the country. We need to look at what we can do to provide that infrastructure for our businesses, because that is actually the battlefield of the 21st century in terms of business. It's bandwidth, access to solid digital infrastructure, and the ability to provide the opportunity for tech companies in particular to have the scalable resources they need so they can deliver their services or products faster, on time, and more efficiently than their competitors.
And absolutely 100% on board with that. So the transport infrastructure, what are we looking forward to there?
Look, light rail is going to be an absolute critical piece, and I don't want to go too much into it because we've all spoken about light rail. We all know the benefits that light rail will be. I live in Miami, and I literally will be popping champagne once stage 3A goes past where I live, because I might not have to drive to work. And I cannot wait for that day to be able to rock up opposite Miami State High School to the tram station that's planned there and be able to catch a tram into work. So that piece is critical, but we also need to look beyond where just the Gold Coast Highway and look at what we're going to do to connect the outer suburbs, because that's the next stage. I think that is literally just as critical. We need to provide that connectivity as a city to ensure that we don't get mass urban sprawl and that we're connecting people from Coomera, whether you're in Coomera or Coolangatta, to this greater city infrastructure and network.
I'm sure there's plenty more we can talk about, John. Thank you so much for your time. There is a City of Gold Coast link, which I'll put in the comments, for where people can have their say on some of the up and coming infrastructure programs and also height restrictions and all sorts of topics about the future of the Gold Coast. And I'm excited to actually put my 2 cents in on that one. I'm sure you are too.
I bet you will be.
Thanks for watching, guys. Chris Hogan from Me Media.
It's always a pleasure.
Cheers, mate.